He's the only one fighting back. That's why I'm here to support him, because he needs a lot more support. He's the only one doctor in Ontario who does this treatment, and he's picking on them. These patients are paying out of their own pocket for their care, so I don't know why the college is so concerned. They are not a burden on our healthcare system.
So the College of Physicians has really pulled the rug out from underneath these cancer patients. They're suddenly left orphaned with no therapy whatsoever, and the outcome is basically guaranteed that their cancer is going to regrow, and in some cases regrow rapidly, and they will die.
Here for Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini, bringing you an interview that I conducted a few weeks ago with Dr. Akbar Khan during a protest at the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario, otherwise known as the CPSO, in downtown Toronto. Dr. Khan is an Ontario physician who has had his fair share of run-ins with the CPSO over the years due to his practice of treating and providing cancer patients with off-label treatments. I have since vetted his story with his paralegal, Yuri Kogan, and while I want to be very clear that these are currently unproven allegations, they are very serious. Dr. Khan has decided that he has had enough of what he and other doctors refer to as the heavy hand of censorship and suppression by the college, so he's filed criminal charges against them. Let's hear it directly from Dr. Khan, what's happened to him and what he's doing about it. Check it out.
So I'm a family doctor, and I've been treating cancer using gentle methods and off-label drugs for about 15 years. So we opened a clinic in 2007 with a focus to improve the care of cancer patients in Ontario. And one of the things that patients are always looking for are new treatment options, and that's what we've been bringing them. Now, most of the treatments that we do are not standard, which means that they're not approved by the government, but they're all evidence-based, they're all based in science, they're supported by research. It's just that they don't meet the high level of research that's needed for final approval and coverage by government funding and so on. And the reason for that is mainly because these therapies are either natural and unpatentable, or they're old drugs that are off patent, and so there's really no motivation to use them commercially. They don't make a big profit. So we've been doing this for about 15 years, and we've had quite remarkable success. And we've published actually several papers on this, several world firsts actually, to show that there's a new way to treat cancer. It's called metabolic therapy. So instead of the usual chemotherapy, which is a poison, we've shown that you can use non-poisonous drugs in order to affect the tumor's ability to generate energy, and that causes tumor cell death. Now, this has been incredible for our patients because it gives them new hope and new options, but it's been actually very unpopular for conventional oncologists. They just don't seem to believe in these new ideas, despite the fact that everything is evidence-based, despite the fact that I've published papers on it in peer-reviewed journals, despite the fact there are doctors around the world that are using our therapies, and despite the fact that I've been asked to lecture at national and international conferences about these therapies. So really, it's the opposition of the conventional doctors that's created all the problems. They've started making complaints to the college years ago. I've received complaints going back since 2007. Initially, all the complaints were dismissed by the college, or they had some very minor findings because I'm not really doing anything wrong, and I'm following their policies, and everything is actually science-based. But in 2013, when we brought a new therapy to Canada called Safe Chemo, which is a therapy developed in the United States, is basically a way to give chemotherapy with almost no side effects. That therapy, we started using it and achieving remarkable results. And when I say remarkable, there was actually an independent oncologist that referred patients to us, and he viewed the results, and he himself repeatedly used the word remarkable. So it's not just for me. The oncologist who was sending us patients was seeing it too, and we have documented evidence of this. But most oncologists were unhappy, and they started complaining, and so the college started an investigation. And the investigation, to summarize, initially they found nothing wrong. They hired 3 experts, and nothing wrong. Clearly they were unhappy. They hired another expert, and all of a sudden everything was wrong. And the long and short of it is they used that expert who gave false testimony, and they used it to discipline me. And the latest is last week, on Friday, they revoked my license.
What they're subjecting his patients to now who had like hope is despair. I've been going there for 7 years. I know a lot of his patients. He saved my husband's life with one of his cancer treatments, and it's a crime. What they're saying about him is absolutely not true. It's fabricated and it's fraud.
How is this going to affect the other patients in the clinic?
Badly, 100% negatively. They, in my opinion, they basically, the CPSO has sentenced them, the cancer patients, to death. Immediately, he has to get his license back. That's for sure for the life of these patients. This has been going on for 8 years that they've been after him and other doctors. He's the only one fighting back. That's why I'm here to support him, because he needs a lot more support. He's the only one doctor in Ontario who does this treatment, and he's picking on them. These patients are paying out of their own pocket for their care, so I don't know why the college is so concerned. They are not a burden on our healthcare system. They should be compensated, as far as I'm concerned.
This has been going on for about 8 years. We've been fighting with them. We've been fighting hard. I had to hire a private lawyer because the lawyers provided by our malpractice insurance, they don't adequately fight. So I did that out of my own money. And despite all of that, and despite the fact that my lawyer effectively destroyed their case, they still ruled against me. And so I was actually quite fed up with the behavior of the college, and I believed it to be criminal. So last week on Tuesday, so that was 3 days before they revoked my license, my paralegal, Mr. Yuri Kogan, and I, we went to court and we showed evidence to the court, and the court actually agreed with us in filing criminal charges against the college. So what we did was we showed them evidence of fabrication of evidence, which is a violation of Section 137 of the Criminal Code. The judge agreed that there was prima facie evidence, which means that on the surface of it, the evidence appears to be true. There was prima facie evidence of fabrication of evidence and obstruction of justice committed by the college investigator, Lisa Mueller, the college lawyer, Morgana Kelly-Thorne, and the College of Physicians and Surgeons as a body. So what that means is the judge has allowed us to proceed to the next step of criminal proceedings, which will be on August 29th, involving the Crown Prosecutor, where we're going to represent the evidence to the Crown Prosecutor and to another judge, and hoping at that point to have criminal indictments issued against these individuals and against the College of Physicians.
But August 29th is a long time away, and now in the meantime, your license has been stripped. What does that mean for your patients?
So this is critical. These legal processes are unfortunately too slow. We have a cancer practice. We have patients on active therapy right now. Some patients with very aggressive cancers. For example, you may be familiar with Gord Downey, a musician who passed away recently with glioblastoma. We have patients on therapy with glioblastoma, a very aggressive cancer, and if their therapy is interrupted, which it has been by the college, knowing full well the impact it's going to have on patients, they have interrupted their therapy, and these patients have no other option. There is no other doctor in Ontario that is confident enough to do these therapies because they're all afraid of the college. So nobody will do it. Even if I teach other doctors to do it, which I have been doing for many years, nobody in Ontario is willing to do it because they know that they will also come under attack by the college. So the College of Physicians has really pulled the rug out from underneath these cancer patients. They're suddenly left orphaned with no therapy whatsoever, and the outcome is basically guaranteed that their cancer is going to regrow, and in some cases regrow rapidly, and they will die. And so the legal system is simply not adequate to deal with this, and as a result, our patients have begun to call on the Minister of Health, as well as Premier Ford, to step in urgently and, one, reinstate my license so I can resume treating these patients so they don't die or suffer harm, irreparable harm, and also, two, to suspend the powers of the College of Physicians and Surgeons based on the evidence that we have, that they are committing crimes regularly, and based on the fact that a judge has agreed that we have prima facie evidence that they are committing crimes. So we really need urgent intervention from the Minister of Health or Premier Ford himself in order to save these patients' lives.
Because there's a huge shortage of doctors in and of itself, right? These patients can't just go and find another doctor. As you said, there's no one else doing the therapy. But even if they needed treatment just in general from someone else, where can physicians find you? Where can others find you if they're looking to connect and share similar situations or circumstances?
So physicians should contact me through our website. They can go on www.medicorecancer.com.
Now, I'm staying in touch with Dr. Khan and his paralegal, Mr. Kogan. They mentioned that many other doctors empathize with how Dr. Khan has been treated and feel similarly slighted by the CPSO. From what I gather, there are other doctors who are contemplating further action against the college as well. I have reached out to the CPSO for comment, specifically asking if a criminal investigation had ever been launched against them, and if so, what was the outcome? I also asked if they had any protocols in place to prevent the CPSO from meddling in the proceedings of their own tribunal process. No one has responded to my request for clarification. We'll be sure to do a full update after the August 29th hearing, pending any schedule changes to the courts between now and then, so please stay tuned. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. This kind of suppression and censorship leads only to a path of unquestioning groupthink. It's a slippery slope, and we are taking a firm stance against it. To see our reports and stay up to date on how Rebel has taken action against various forms of censorship, head on over to our special website, stopthecensorship.ca, and check out our reports there. That's stopthecensorship.ca.